Okay, so we're going to begin from where we left off, towards the end of Siman Tzadik Tes Seif Tes. Very special din about Isurim that can help in the bittul process, which is very unusual. The Chaber's example is really a quote from the Rosh, a tshuva of the Rosh, where you have 59 heter, you have two kinds of Isurim falling in, whether you hold at the same time or one after another, but according to the Mechaber, even at the same time. And the Chiddush is that because they're so different, Dam and Chalev as an example, they are mevatel each other, they help each other. He doesn't say mevatel, so much each other, they help each other in canceling each other out. In other words, one is mitzaref with the heter to mevatel the other iser, the other iser is mitzaref with the heter to mevatel the other iser. So all the isurim that have just fallen in are eliminated. Even though what we're doing is we're using isurim to be mitzaref with the heter to cancel out another isur. Where ordinarily the concept of bitul involves heter being mevatel an isur. What happens to isur? Well, as we explained according to the Rosh, that isur is transformed into heter. So here, it's unusual, it's very, very different, that we're borrowing, we're depending on an isur to help us out in this bittul process.
We said provide the surah.
Right. That's the Mechaber's example that there are different kinds of isurim. And as we said, it's a big sugya because it involves many ideas, many concepts. There are many questions here, and some of it, of course, we've already covered last time. Just a quick review of what we're dealing with here. We're obviously, or it appears to be, that we're touching on the sugya of isurim mevatlim zeh zeh. It appears to be. After all, the Rosh, who is the makor, the source of this halacha, brings that as one of the explanations. He brings three, which we covered too. So he brings that one possibility, or one way of explaining this halacha, in other words, his resolution of this, that it's mutter, is because there's a concept of isurim mevatim zeh zeh. You could use it. It's in the Gemara. It's in Zvachim. But it's a machloket, and it doesn't say anywhere who we paskin like the halacha is. Apparently, he's paskin like Rish Lakish. Very simple. He said, "I'm using that," so he says so. So it's important to keep in mind that the Rosh appears to be paskining, holds like Rish Lakish. He holds, yes, isurim mevatim zeh zeh. Now, that's not a simple matter. As we explained, there's all kinds of scenarios, situations in Shas, in Mishnayos, as we will soon see, that it's not so clear. When you say isurim mevatim zeh zeh, there's another concept called isurim mitzarfin. In other words, that you combine sometimes certain issues together. And we did understand that the two are mutually exclusive of each other, because once you say that two isurim are mitzaref, that means they combine and you're going to be over a lot, even though each one is smaller than a kazayit, but you have them together, then they're not going to be mevatel each other because they're mitzaref, if anything. So that's somewhat understood. Okay. And then we gave another explanation. The explanation that the Rosh says, it's a svara. A svara that this particular example of chalev and dam should cancel each other out, should eliminate. This particular example is a svara.
What is an example?
A svara it's an assumption, or actually a better word, it's a given, as they say. Mm-hmm. It's a given. It's common sense. That too. It's all that.
Could you say
I think it's even more than that. In other words, it's a given.
How could you?
Whenever you use the words for, you're basically saying it makes sense. It's an accepted thing. It makes sense. That's what savir laniach, as we say in Hebrew. Savir laniach, it is reasonable to assume. Yes. Okay. All right. It's a reasonable assumption that this should cancel each other out. Because after all, what are we interested in here? In tam. And if the tam is gone, why should I care how it's gone? Very simple. The tam of this particular dam is gone. The dam of this chelev is gone.
But many have unique that you can add to means or not.
Well, obviously, yeah. Oh, sure. But now that's a different situation. We're going to eventually learn that en mevatlin isur lechatchila. You cannot go ahead now and dilute this mixture in any form or whatever by adding water to dilute the tam intentionally. Here we're talking about an unintentional situation. Isurim fell in. Yeah, but it happens to be that these two isurim that fell in, that on their own they would cause a problem, but with each other, they're going to cancel each other out, which is an interesting situation.
He wasn't there for to know the sugya.
Right. But we can't go through the whole thing again.
Maybe the mechaber, maybe what he's saying.
No, I did say in the beginning that we were talking about 59, a quantity of 59 heter, and then we had 2 zaitim, each one of a different kind of iser, right? So obviously we need 60 to be mevatel tam, and we don't have it unless we use the isur. How do we use isur? The Rosh says you can, and that's the chidush. So the Chaber is taking this from the Rosh, which in itself brings up another question. Why didn't he go like the Rambam? If he wants to say that isurim mevatlin zeh et zeh, the Rambam says clearly, I hold en isurim mevatlin zeh. He says so in Halacha ma'achalot asurot, I believe. No, Psulei Mukdashim, where he talks about pigul and otar and tameh. They're not mevatel each other, he said. And therefore, the Dago Mervava and others question Machaber, even though, listen, he's entitled to look at the Rosh, because the Rosh, Rif, and Rambam are his usual main sources. But why didn't he here go with a clear halacha? That's what the Gomer Rabbi here is bothered here. It's a clear halacha that any Yisur Mevatlin says, are you paskin? Yes, maybe. I'm a little bothered by that, because why can't he paskin like the Rosh? It appears like the Rosh is going with that. But anyway, there's more to that than just why did he go with the Rosh and not with the Rambam. But based on the second explanation that this is a svara, so we're putting aside the whole sugya of Isur Mevatlin Zeh Zeh. Once you say it's a svara, then even the Rambam would agree here. In this particular example, which the Rambam doesn't bring, obviously it's a question that was asked to the Rambam. Even the Rambam would agree. That's why he doesn't have to bring in the Rambam here. Because even the Rambam would agree to such a scenario. Yes, if you would only rely on Isur Mevatlin Zeh Zeh, it's a machlokes in the Gemara. The Rambam says no. And even though the Rambam says no, it's not so clear he always says no. Because there is an opinion that maybe he says that just in Kodshim. Maybe that in that particular example he's applying that, even though it's a very strong statement. But anyway, there is such an opinion that it may not be across the board. And we will see that there's something to that. So, but once you say that there's a svara, the svara actually does make sense. It is a reasonable svara. Everybody buys into it. Everybody jump at that. Everybody will agree with that. In other words, the Maisa, even though the Dago Meravava does have an objection to one of the details of the Mechaber, and even though there is going to be a difference between whether you hold Chanan B'Shar Isurim in the second example, because the second example of the Mechaber is where you have 29 heter with 1 zait of dam, 30 heter in 1 pot with 1 zait of chelev, and then they mix. Okay? And in that scenario, the Mechaber, the Rosh and the Mechaber say it's the same thing. Whether they were apart, then they mixed, or whether they fell in at the same time. But that presents the situation of Chanan B'Shar Yisurim, because if you have 29 and 30 apart, then each one is becoming Asr before they actually. And if each one is becoming Asr, for those who hold Chanan B'Shar Yisurim is not a problem, okay. Now what difference does it make if they were 29, 30 separate pots, and then they mix into the big pot? Or if they fell in together at the same time, it makes no difference. There's no Chanan. But if there's Chanan B'Shar Yisurim, it presents a problem. Now, if you have milk and meat, like the Ramah brings down, good. That's not Chanan. Each one is heter by itself. But the problem is the way the Ramah presented it, that kol shekein. Oh, kol shekein, that means you agree with the Mechaber. How could you agree? Right? So unless you say it's lach belach, behefsed beruba, Chanan belach belach, not everybody agrees that there's Chanan, now you have to give an explanation of why, the Ramah would say what he right? So anyway, I left some points unresolved, not clarified last week, that just before we go on to the second portion of the Shir, I just want to go over a little bit. And that is an example that is brought down in the Chavas Das, where let's say you have 2 pieces of meat. You have a kazayis chelev in one, that made a treif, and a kazayit chelev in another, not meat actually, in a tafshil. It's a different kind of min. It's a different kind of food. And then they get mixed up together. In that case, he says very good, lo mevatlim zeh, even you hold isurim mevatlin zeh zeh, not when they're the same tam, exactly the same tam. If they're the same time, that enhances, we explained, the whole pot. Remember, we had two questions. We had two examples or two nafkaminas. What happens, let's say you say Isurim Mevatlin Zez. All right, we buy into that. What happens when you have two Isurim of the same name with a different tam? They're the same name, same lav. Or the other way around. They're not the same lav, but they're the same tam. This one for sure, if they're the same tam, we explained that l'chora, they enhance. You can't say mevatel zeh zeh when you have tam being the same here, the exact same tam. Even though they're different names, we're not going to say Yisur mevatel zeh zeh. They would really have to be very identical to be mevatel zeh zeh. I'm sorry, they would have to be very not identical, very different to be mevatel zeh zeh. To cancel each other out. Once they're very similar or a little bit similar, not necessarily. It's a machlokas, right? So the Chanas Dash example is, even though it's an Isser Balual, you have Chalev here, but this is a tafshil and this is meat. You might think, well, this is a tafshil and this is meat. They're different. Yeah, they may be different, but the Isser in them is the same. And since their Isser of Chalev is in both of them, they will not be mevatel each other, right? Just don't think just because the food is different, they're going to mevatel each other. No, the Isser is the same. Obviously, then they're not going to mevatel each other. Another point we left off is a very interesting tour. The tour, after explaining this halacha, it's his father, the Rosh. The tour says, he brings down the case of Zvochim, of Pigul, Noiser, and Tomeh. Even though everybody says, why you bring this down? Tour, you're not the Rambam. You only bring down relevant halachas to nowadays. 14th century halachas. He was in the 14th century. 14 going into the 15th. Towards the end of 14. Anyway, what are you bringing these halachas now for? He doesn't do that. So the Aruch HaShulchan speaks about that. The Kreis Ufleisi speaks about that. What's the chidush, or why would the Tur say, you know what? In the same way that you have here Isurim Mevatlin Zeh Zeh, in the same way they cancel each other out, the same if you have Pigul, Noiser, and Tameh. What's the chidush? Why even mention it? And besides, it's Yavish B'Yavish, that belongs later on in Hilchos Taaruvot, not now. So there's various explanations given, but the simple explanation that the Aruch HaShulchan says, it's a big chidush here. I don't think he says it from his own. He says he's seen it elsewhere. The big chidush that the Torah is telling us is that when it comes to Isurim alone, if they are by themselves, like Pigul, Noiser, and Tomeh, Chad Betray would apply just like Chad Betray by Heter and Isser. The din of Chad Betray is bottle. Everybody understand that? The din of Chad Betray being bottle in Heter and Isser would also apply when the three are Isurim. So, I saw something very nice. I saw something... Yeah, but whatever. Oh, by the way, it doesn't mean it's mutter. You can't eat it anyway. The question that the tour was, by the way, the tour, why... I'm sorry, I didn't say this. The second part of the question of the tour is, forget the fact that this is not relevant. Why are you telling us I can't have it anyway?
Yeah, so what does it mean?
Why tell this to me if I can't eat it?
So what does it mean?
Oh.
So you can't eat it? What does it mean?
Well, remember the Sugi and Zvochim?
You can't tell the Azhara.
So there's no Malchus. At least by Pigul, Noiser, and Tomeh, there's no Malchus. So that we know.
Aha, so that's what he means.
That we know, yeah, but why say it here? What are we going to gain from it? That's the Aruch HaShulchan and the Kreis Ufleisi speak of. What are we going to gain from this halacha? Say it's not relevant. Say you can't eat it anyway. By Chalev and Dam, I can have it. Okay, but why bring this here? See? But the Aruch HaShulchan says, at least he's telling us a big chidush here, that the concept of Chad Betray bottle in Heter and Isser applies to Isserim too. What difference will it make? What difference will it make? So let me quote to you. Let me quote to you an actual example that's brought down. Let's see, where is it brought down? Yeah. B'yovish. It's brought down, it might be a machloikas. It's a machloikas, some say it would be a machloikas, the Rosh and the Rambam, if Yisurim Mevatnim Zeh or not. You have, let's say you have three kinds of Yisurim. A treif fish, a treif bird, a treif animal, different kinds of Yisurim mixed together. And we know we can't eat it. So in your case, the one that you mentioned last week, where you would have one heter and 2 isurin, of course you would not be able to eat it, because either way you look at it, you don't have enough heter to mevatel the isur. That, right? Remember that? When you have 3, 1 is a heter, and 2 are different kinds of isurim. Either way you can't eat it because you don't have enough heter. So what's the nafkamina here? Here you have 3 isurim. We said chad b'trei bottle, but what are we going to gain from it? Now, so let's assume, okay, we have a machlokes isur mevatim zeh or not. The Rambam says no, the Rosh says yes. I think the Chavas Das brings down that based on the Rosh, that there's a complete cancellation here, just like he holds that that isur becomes heter. Isur mevatim zeh means that the whole thing is gone. In other words, there's no real isur here. According to the Rosh, one way to interpret the Rosh, what he would say here is that there's no isur at all. There's no isur Torah whatsoever. You're not eating. If you were to eat from it, you're not allowed to. But if you were to eat from it, you would not be transgressing any isur Torah, since we said it's bottle. Only with the Rabbanan, it would be usur for us to eat it. With the Torah, it would not be usur.
That's when we're saying all 3 are.
Yes, all 3 are isur.
In other words, 2 accomplish to convert the 3rd isur into. That heter combined with one of the 2 isur, the other is heter.
It's not real heter.
Yeah, so it's not real heter.
In other words, the real isur in each one of them does not exist anymore. Just very similar to Gemara and Zvachim. It's no longer there. And because of that, there's no isur Torah in eating this. You're not transgressing an isur. That's one opinion. The other svara is, and that is, I think, the Pri Megadim brings it down, and the Chazon Ish brings it down, that Malchus does not apply here, but an isur Torah would still be there either way. Eating from this, it's an isur Torah. So, just wanted to give that to you, that you should know that that's part of the discussion of what's going on exactly in isur mevatim zeh, in a situation where all you had was isurim. So based on what the Aruch HaShulchan just said, that the chiddush of the Tur is chad b'trei bottle also applies here. If that's the case, maybe there is no isur at all. Not that you can't eat, not that you can eat it, but it's gone.
But we said,
right?
If situation where you have 2 heads, then when one consumes the chances are whatever I'm assuming now will be vegetarian.
Right.
On the last one, there's probably already consumed the right? On the last remaining one.
Okay.
That is also a presumption that the isur was already isur. The person will then have consumed it once all 3 are gone. But to 2 people.
Sure, of course.
So one of the 2 will have consumed it.
Definitely.
We don't know which one it was.
That's like the example of a kedei achilas prasud. According to the Rambam, when you eat the whole thing, you for sure committed.
So
yeah.
the Torah.
Yeah, well, maybe in this case too. Yeah.
He consumed an isur without violating a.
Yes, there would be some sort of
It's
isur.
an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Consumed an isur without violating.
Without violating it, and we're going to see how that works. We're going to learn some additional concepts today. But in order to properly understand the second part of the shir, which is the 3rd explanation of the Rosh, we gave the first 2 isur mevatim zeh, which we're not done yet completely with, and svara. Svara is the easiest one. It's acceptable. The Rambam and Urivi. That's correct. The third explanation of why this works, that chelev and dam just cancel each other out or are helpful, being mevatel, the isur that is present there, or the isurim, by combining themselves with the 59. The reason it helps is for a third idea, that is, the source of it is in the Mishnah. Now, I'm sorry, I don't have a Mishnah for each one of you, so I'm going to read it slowly. It's a Mishnah in Orla. A few Mishnahs in Orla, Perek Sheni. I'm going to go through it. Trumas Meiser of the Mai, Chalav, Bikurim, Oilim, Be'echad, Umaya, or Mitzorfim Zeim. There are a few items that the Rabbanan said, if they ever get mixed up with heter, the only way that it's completely gone, that you can eat from it, is if there's 100 against it. What do all of these have in common that there's 100? Because they're all called Truma, whether it's Chalo, Bikurim, Trumas Meiser, as we explained beginning on Tuesday, right? So their shir is Echad B'Meah. But here the Mishnah adds something. But besides the shir of Echad B'Meah for bitul purposes, mitzdarfim zeim zeh.
So another mevatel is a start.
Oh, so wait a minute. So here, this Mishnah is not talking about so much of examples of bitul, even though it tells me for bitul purposes I would need 100. It did not give me an example in Mishnah. There's no example of bitul, but it tells me if there is ever a need for bitul, you need 100. What this Mishnah is only telling us is that what these have in common is that mitzdarfim zeim zeh. There's something that they have in common. What is that? They're all called truma. Mitzarfim zeim zeh, therefore means what? That if you eat a little bit of this, a little bit of that, each one less than a shear, they're mitzarf. You're over in the isser of eating truma, because they're all called truma, even though they're different, even though they have different names. Yes, no problem, no problem. Even
fruit and top.
no, but it appears to be so far that we're learning so far that all of these are the same mean.
So we're at no.
Yeah, so far we're learning. It appears to be that is the consensus, that we're talking about everything being here the same mean.
Same volumes.
But what's different about them? The name
Of the Isser.
of the Isser. But why is there no machloikas here?
Because
they're all truma.
Yeah,
Because they're all truma.
Yeah.
Even though they're different shemas, they're different names, but because they all are truma, so far so good. So the
different ways of saying truma.
right. So the measurement is 100. They're mitzarfim the same zeh. The only problem is that if it ever gets mixed up, tzorich leharim, you would have to pick up one se'ah, for example, a fellow, because it belongs to the coin, you can't steal from the coin. That's the only reason you have to, after the mixture is mutter, just remove the quantity that fell in that is asr to give to the coin because it belongs to him. You can't steal from him. Yeah.
Is that actually now really a halacha of choshen, or is it a halacha in kashrus?
No, it's a halacha in choshen misht.
Wow.
In a sense, yes. In a sense, yeah. It belongs to the coin, you have to give it to him. He can't be deprived just because it's bottle.
So it doesn't have to come out of that collection. You take it from
No,
some
but
other heap.
but so that's what we do. We take it out from that because we say that what you took out, that's what fell in. It's also an additional idea that what you took out is that we assume also what fell in. It helps. It helps with bit. But anyway, that's truma. Kila kerem, orlo. I'm sorry, orlo kila kerem, orlo and kila hakerem. Oilim be'echad u'mosayim, you need 200. Umitztarfim zeim zeh, which is very unusual. Wow. So keep in mind, we're going to come back to it. Yeah.
Otherwise it wouldn't be
Orla and Kila Yakem. Orla is Orla, right? Fruits of the first 3 years. Kila Yakem is from Kilayim, growing together. They need 200. Why, by the way, do they need 200? Because they're also Behano. Too. Because they're also Behano, the Chachamim made it stricter. Okay, fine. But anyway, we start from saying that for some reason, we don't know yet. We don't know yet, but perhaps I'll tell you now, just in case I forget. One explanation of why we start from saying, because there is a famous Rav Meir, I think in Maseches Avodah perhaps, that says that all Isurim can be really combined together. That if you were to eat from a whole bunch of Isurim, even though you're combining all kinds, you'd be over on the Isur of Lo Toicha Kol To'ev. There's such a pasuk that applies to all Isurim. Don't eat anything that is abominable. Any abomination, anything that's prohibited by it. So it's a Rav Meir.
Wow.
So this Mishnah, one idea behind this statement of Kilayim and Orla combining, even though they're different, is only because of this Rav Meir. So maybe this is Rav Meir. Okay, very important to keep this in mind, that this is not necessarily everybody's in agreement with, because this could be going to Rav Meir. That the lab here is Lo Soicha Kol To'evon, even though they're different, mitzarfim. Okay. Vein Tzorch Leharim. Rav Shimon Omer in this case, in the second case of Kila Kerem and Orla, there's no machloikis. Rav Shimon says no way, and then mitzarfim. There are two different kinds of names, Orla and Kila Kerem. And Rabbi Eliezer says Omer mitzarfim benoisen tam. Only if they give tam, then they're mitzarf. Avalo lesser. Together they don't pose a problem.
What does that mean? Mitzarf with their noisen tom?
Huh?
What does that mean?
If they got mixed up biyovish, okay, there would be no problem. There would not be mitzaref, tushter. They're different, right? But if they would be cooked, if there would be liquid involved, in noisen tam, Rabbi Eliezer would say yes.
Even though they're giving different tom.
Yes, here we're talking. Remember, a similar tam.
Similar.
We're talking about all here. The assumption here is what I call
Orla and Kalai?
different name, different lav.
But it's not food.
It is. It could be the same food.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, Rabbi Eliezer said in that scenario of tam, I would agree with you that they're mitzaref. So he makes like a compromise. Tana Kama, the first opinion says that mitzaref from the same. Rav Shimon says no way. They're two different names completely. And Rabbi Eliezer makes a compromise that in yavish b'yavish, no. In tam, yes. Okay, so far so good. There's no real difficulty in understanding this. Mishnah just that in the second part, in dealing with Orla and Kilakim, we have a machlokes. The halacha is not like Rav Shimon anyway. The halacha is that for some reason, Kilakim and Orla are mitzaref. Okay, that's very important to keep in mind. All right. The problems begin with the second and third Mishnah. I'm going to try to go through it a little bit quickly. Truma malas orla, orla is a truma. Truma can help cancel out orla, orla can help cancel out truma. What's the example, Ketzad? Se'o truma shenofla lemeyo, you have a se'o, a measurement of truma that fell into 100. Achakach noflu shloisha kabin orla, and then 3 kabin of orla fell in. Sounds familiar? Getting closer to our Taaruvot here. Now we're coming to Bitulim here. Right? Dam Chelev, look at this. So you have Se'o of Truma falling into 100, Chulin, Heter. Achakach noflu shloisha kabin orla, then 3 kabin. What's kabin? 3 kabin is a half a Se'o. 6 kabin in 1 Se'o. So you have 3 kabin of orla falling in. Or shloisha kabin kilei aker, makes no difference. Either orla or kilei aker, makes no difference. This is the example of the truma malas orla of orla truma. This is what we meant. The truma cancels out orla, and orla can cancel out truma. Now, this is where the problems begin. How do we interpret this Mishnah? And I'm going to pretty much tell it to you outside. There is the Rabbi Elyahu Kin, which the Rosh pretty much go along with, and you have the Rambam and the Rash in the Pirush HaMishnayos, and you have everybody else that seems to like the Rambam's sheet or way of understanding this Mishnah. Listen carefully. We have 2 examples in this Mishnah. We have an example of Truma falling into 100, and then Orla or Kilei Aker following afterwards inside. Or, who was first? You first had the Kilei Aker or Orla, and then you have the Truma falling, even though the Mishnah doesn't say it. Okay? But it means either or. So, Truma shenaflo lemeyo, achakach noflo shlosha kabin Orla, or shlosha kabin Kilei Aker. This is what we meant, that Truma can cancel out Orla, Orla can cancel out Truma. What it really means is, regardless of which one fell in first, there is a way where these Isurim can be Male. What does Male mean? They can bring them out. They can cancel each other out. Does everybody follow? I mean, what's going on in this Mishnah? Right, we have Chulin, Heter, that's Heter. And you have Truma falling in first. And then after that, you're having Orla falling in. Or Kilei Aker. Or the other way around. You have Chulin, but you had Orla falling in first, and then Truma falling in next. You can have a situation, this Mishnah says, where one is Mala the other. How? Alright, if you have 100 Chulin, then Truma falls into 100, like the Mishnah says, Truma shenoflo lemeya, it's bottle. So what's the big deal here? That this bitul of Truma and Chulin will later on be Male Orla that falls in later. It's gone. Once it's gone, like Chelev or Dam in 60, of course everybody agrees that throw something else at it and it will be Mevatalet. So they bring the Yerushalmi, they say, no, the way the Yerushalmi learns this is that you don't necessarily have here 100, otherwise it's not a Chiddush. What you really have here is 99. Even though it says 100, it means together with the Truma you have 100. Everybody follow?
So to begin, have 100.
To begin with, you don't have 100. Even though it says 100, what it really means is that together with the Truma that fell in, now you have 100. Okay. So what do we know? What's the halacha when one Truma falls into 99? It's medamya. In other words, it makes it unfit for an Yisrael or Levio. It can only be eaten by a Kohen. Okay. Yeah, it's meduma. In other words, it's all mixed right now. It cannot be eaten by a non-Kohen. All right. But what happened next? The Mishnah says that Orla or Kilei Aker fell in. Orla and Kilei Aker fell in. Well, guess what? You can now use the 99. Everybody appears, Kimat, everybody agrees with this Yerushalmi. Kimat, and I'll tell you who doesn't. Now we have 100? Or we have actually 200 parts against the Kilei Aker or Orla, because when it says Shloisha Kabin, that's a half. So in reality, the 100 that we have is 200. That's necessary to count. Okay? It says, how much do we need by Orla and Kilei Aker? Not 100. We need 200, right? We need 200 measurements. So now, see, the Mishnah says Shloisha Kabin fell in. If Shloisha Kabin fell in, that's why 100 of Heter is good enough. I really need 200 to cancel the Orla. But I do have 200, because I have 200 parts, because I have halves. I have 3 kabin of the orla, not a se'o. Okay, but either way, the point is, I have enough between the truma and the chulin, the heter, to cancel out the little bit of orla or kilei akeren that fell in subsequently. Right? This is a very similar situation, similar to our case in Taaruvot of chelev and dam. Okay? Chelev falls into 59. Together they're 60. They cancel out the dam, or the dam cancels out the chelev, right? Here in this Mishnah, you have so far an interesting example, similar scenario, where the Mishnah says clearly, truma falling into 99 is not enough to cancel itself out, but together with the heter, it has a koach, to cancel out orla and kilei akeren that may subsequently fall in. And the other way around, you had orla falling in first, and you had enough in the heter to be mevatalet. Here you have to have enough heter, otherwise it would be usher completely to everybody. Then, between everything, between the orla and the chulin, you can cancel out the truma if you have enough against the truma. Okay, now, what's the problem here? The Rabbi Elyahu Kin says, if you learn Poshet Pshat, by the way, without looking at the Forshim, I think you would learn like Rabbi Elyahu Kin. That's the way I did. But that is, everybody doesn't like it for some reason. I'll tell you why. They have questions about it. What does Rabbi Elyahu Kin say about this Mishnah? Remember the Truma? Truma falls into 99? Okay. It's not bottle, but it's good for Kohanim. All right. Okay, fine. Everybody agrees with that part. It's good for Kohanim. It's not completely bottle, and everybody agrees it should read 99, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. If Truma falls into 100, what's the chidush that the two combine? I don't need the Truma. I have enough heter to cancel out orla. So it must be that it's 100 together. You understand the point why everybody likes the Yerushalmi? It must be that it can't be 9. It can't be 100. Otherwise, what do I need the Truma? It by itself. So therefore I have 99 together with the Truma. That's a Chidush. Yes, it is a Chidush. That's what the Mishnah wants to teach us. It will cancel out the Orla, or the kilei akeren. Comes along Rabbi Elyahu Kin and says, you know what the Mishnah is really telling us? If you read it through, thoroughly, it says 2 things, 2 dinim. The Truma combines with the Chulin to cancel the Orla. And now that the Orla is part of the formula, the Orla cancels the Truma. How do you like that?
Because you know.
We didn't have enough Chulin to cancel the Truma. We only have 99. But now that we have the Orla, not only does the Truma help to cancel out the Orla with the heter, the Orla itself that just came in and joined helps me cancel the Truma that was there.
Or line 200.
That's right.
So,
but remember, I assume we have enough for each other. Otherwise, it becomes very complicated.
My problem is if I don't have enough in the yes, so the truma together with the heter, 200 times the orla.
Remember, we have enough in orla in kilei akeren because all you need is a little bit more, according to Rabbi Elyahu Kin.
But just to look at the proportions, mathematically.
Oh, one more time. I know. I was thinking that in the beginning too, but that's where you have to remember that kilei akeren and orla amounts in this Mishnah is only a half a se'ah. It's not an entire se'ah. Since it's only a half a se'ah, all I need is not 200. I need 100 of the se'ah that I have between the truma and the chulin. 100 se'ah is 200 half a se'ah.
Right. Good.
So that's what I have here.
But that's what I have here.
Right.
Then truma has to add to the heter to whatever the chulin is missing to become a full saw. Okay?
No. The orla, all I need is just a drop to add to the chulin to make the truma mutar.
The truma
mutar. Because I have 99. So all I need is just a little bit more. It's very little.
That's 99 what?
I have 99 heter, chulin.
99
se'ah.
Saw.
And I have 1 se'ah of truma. All I need is 1 se'ah.
Of orla.
Right. Or a little bit. The Meforshim explained that it's not necessarily exact. All I need is a little bit more to complete the 100.
But enough to make the 99 chulin 100 the truma.
Against the truma, yes.
So if I have 99 saw, I'll need 1 saw, otherwise it won't be good.
Yeah.
So the orla has to be 1 saw.
Yeah, but that's what I... That's
now
what,
I have
you're
99
right.
chulin,
That's why I'm...
1 sa of truma, which is 100, against 1 sa of orla.
Right, but that's why I said that it's not necessarily...
So all I need is to have it a
You're
little
right.
over 99?
I need to... That's why it's not 99 exactly. You're right, the Mephorshim speak about it. If you want the math to work out perfectly, it must be talking about that it's a little bit over 99, it's a little bit over 3.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I have to look at the math.
right. In other words, it's an approximate. It's much more of an approximate. Otherwise, the math doesn't work.
No.
Exactly. So what we have is an approximate. You have what the Mephorshim say, ve'od. 99, ve'od. So once you have the ve'od and the ve'od here, you have what you need against the truma. But you understand how Rabbi Elyahu Kin learns over here? He says they cancel each other out. That's the chidush. Not only does the truma and the heter cancel out the orla, once the orla is in this pile, it cancels out the truma that was originally not canceled because it was only 99.
Which means that the truma helped cancel out the orla at a point in time in which truma itself was still there.
Yes,
What
yes,
you're trying to
yes,
emphasize.
yes, yes. And of course, there's a lot of questions about that. A lot of questions about that we'll see. But before we get to the question, what's the Rambam and the Rash, how do they learn? They're saying we're not talking about a situation where each one cancels each other out. All the Mishnah is trying to convey here is that Truma fell in, there was not enough. Then Orla fell in. Truma and Chulin together cancel out the Orla, but not the other way around. You can't say now, oh, the Orla is there, cancel my Truma too. No, that we don't say.
Why would that be why wouldn't it really come to say truma and the chulin cancel out orla?
Oh, we will see. They say that's not possible. Yeah, and I saw various explanations. The Ridvaz, for example, brings down. He says Tarti lo amrinan. He doesn't say why. Tarti means two things, two chidushim we don't say. That it should be me'ale, the orla, and the orla should be cancelled out the truma. That we don't say. But why not? He doesn't say. We will see why they have a problem with Vadim Vartanor's pshat in a moment. But the Ridvaz seems to be saying that we don't say. That kind of a chiddush we don't say. He doesn't explain why. So the shita of the Rambam and the Rash, the Girsa, or the way they learn, is that we're not talking about each other. The Mishnah is talking about Truma and Chulin take care of the Orla, or the other way around. If Orla fell in first, or Kilakerem, so Orla together with Chulin will be mevatel the Truma. But it's not that one takes care of the other at the same time. Once the Truma became Meduma, it's Aser. It's only mutter for Kohanim. And I think that Tiferes Yisrael also explains, once it's Aser Behano, how could you say, that's one of his signs, how could you say that the Orla should not be, all of a sudden make it mutter now? It was Aser already to begin with. It was Aser Behano. It's Truma. You can undo that? Where do you take that from? So he has a question on the whole shita of Rav Ovadia ben Bartenura, but it gets a little bit more interesting.
Is that because you had truma is a type of isser?
We don't know yet. You see what I had to go through, and now you understand a little bit what's going on here. Go to another makor, another sugya, and I see, wow, it's not so simple. Even this sugya is not simple. We have two different ways of learning it, but perhaps once we understand the different shitas, why they say, we will figure out perhaps it's related to the famous sugya of Isurim, Mevatin Zed, maybe yes, maybe not, maybe sometimes not. That's what we have to see. Why here yes, why there no? What's going on? That's what makes this a very, very fascinating sugya, because it is definitely related. The Rosh brings this Mishnayos as an additional explanation of why his case of Chelev and Dam works. This is another reason, he says, because in this Mishnayos you see the concept of Malin Zeh Zeh. But wait a minute, how did you learn? Like Rav Ovadia ben Bartenura, like the Rambam? If you learn like the Rambam, it's not a good example, right? The Rambam says they don't cancel each other out. Does everybody follow? The Rambam was learning and the Rash were learning that the Mishnah was just giving two examples of how two combine to cancel another, but not each other. In other words, you want to cancel the dam and cancel the chelev, you can't do it at the same time.
Not mutually
cancel each other.
One is combined with a heter to cancel isser.
If you want to use this as your makor, and you're learning like the Rambam, you can't. If you're learning like Rav Ovadia ben Bartenura, you can. And they're almost around the same time. They lived almost around the same time, a little bit before, I think. But anyway, it depends how you learn this Mishnah. It's a very important Mishnah. What is the Mishnah talking about? Okay, but before we go on, there is a Raavad. Raavad says, it makes it easy. Raavad says, forget about the 99 in Yerushalmi. Raavad's girsa from his comment on the Rambam in Macholos Asuras appears to be that he has a different girsa. He says, we're not talking about 99 here, we're talking about straight 100. You have Truma falling into 100, good, it's cancelled, it's gone. And then you have the rest is all the same. The rest is all the same. What is all the same meaning? That the 100 that you have cancels out the Orla. Now I don't need for it to cancel out the Truma because the Truma is already cancelled anyway. Oh. But you understood the Raavad? It's a very important idea here too. The Raavad seems to be saying, forget the 99, I'll make life easy for you. And I'll tell you why he does make my life easy. I'll tell you soon. But life is easy. Truma falls into 100, it's Mevatel. And now, the Mishnah is telling us that together with the Chulin, they cancel out the Orla. Or the other way around. You have Orla falling in 200, it's Batel. Comes along Truma, 200 halves, which is 100. You have enough against the Truma to cancel it out. So the question is, Raavad, what's the chiddush of this?
Not only that, but how does that explain to... Because the Mechaber clearly is 59 and
Right.
60.
Oh, good. So according to the Raavad, we don't have an explanation for the Mechaber from that.
Right.
Only the way the Rosh learns, and like the Ravadim Bartanura, can we get close? Only that way. Only if you learn like Ravadim Bartanura. And like the Rosh learns, can we understand the Rosh himself? And the Mechaber. But the Raavad, wait a minute. Right? What is the Raavad saying? Pashut. You have Truma falling into 100, it's gone. It's bottle. You have the 100. Now you have Orla falling in, we'll take care of it too. You have Orla falling in, it's bottle, we'll take care of the Truma. So the question is, what's the Chiddush? It is a Chiddush. I mean, the Mishnah is teaching us a Halacha. It's Torah Shebal Peh. Torah Shebal Peh, meaning we have Isurim. You should know that even though the Isur was bottle, it's not so simple for you to assume that it can be mitzaref to be mevatel another Isur. Whoever told you this did? Oh, you learned Shulchan Aruch, Yore Deah? This is before right? So we're learning a halacha in bitul over here, but it's a different kind of bitul. Obviously, there's different. This is not just tam. This is not just tarfis. We're going to see that this is a different kind of isur. Nevertheless, we're introduced to a form of bitul over here.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Are these with the Rabbanans?
Oh.
So we need 100?
Oh, yes. Therefore, go ahead. You're going to count.
They're
very good. Yeah, you're getting to something. Yeah, you're touching on something.
There's two things. One
Yeah.
is then I don't see how the Ramadadika is Surim Papa or the Rosh regarding Caleb and Dam, because our Daraisa is. So perhaps I can say in the Rabbanan it will work to Masarif, and maybe by the Raisa I can't be seen.
Yeah, but you have to
So
prove
that'll be
it.
one point.
Yeah, but you have to prove it. You have to really show. You have to prove it. How do you know? But you're touching on something which is very good, very relevant, and that is that we're talking about is certain. They're not Yisurim Rabbanan, they're Yisurim Deraisa. Shiurim. The Shiurim here are the Rabbanan. Right. Now, okay, so far so good. But what's the Chiddush? The Chiddush you can say very simple is as follows. What the Raavad is saying, or what the Mishnah is telling us based on the Raavad's way of learning, yes, even though I know it's simple, the Truma is gone, it's bottle, but you know what? Even though it's bottle, it still could be Choyzer Veneer.
Right.
We're going to eventually learn about the idea of Choyzer Veneer, you can awaken again. Just because it's bottle now, does that mean it's gone forever? What if another Isser were to fall in? The same kind of Isser. The same. Oh. Now it really gets tough. The same one. Will it be Choyzer Veneer? As we see the Shach later on, the Ramah, they all say very clearly and very strongly, min be'ino makes no difference, yavesh lach, Choyzer Veneer, if it's the same kind of Isser. There is such a thing called Choyzer Veneer. We learn it, we see it in Pesach. It's a problem in Pesach. But it comes about here too. There's a concept, and we will. There's a fascinating. This is what will make the whole thing very interesting. There's a fascinating area of where this is actually. You can actually see how this works out. We'll leave that towards the end.
That would be the same, you know?
Yes, the maskana is if it's the exact same thing, it's Choyzer Veneer. But it has to be the exact same thing. What? Yeah, Choyzer Veneer and Isser. Right.
Who would hold mutter.
Right.
100% they have to go Choyzer.
Maybe yes. You don't know that yet. We don't know. We don't know that from the Rosh. But very good point. Very, very good point. What will the Rosh say? What would everybody? What does everybody say? I mean, Choizer Veneer is a concept that everybody somehow agrees. Almost everybody, I should say. Almost everybody agrees to. At some point, it's true. At some point, it becomes true. So here, the simple Chiddush is the Mishnah is telling us that even though it may be a similar or same Isser falling in later on, it's not Choizer Veneer. It's not. Not in this Mishnah. In other words, the Truma, once it's gone, even though some more Truma may come in later on, or Kilei Akerem or Orla, the Isurim are not Me'oyer, either because they're different, after all they're different, or maybe even if they're the same. I don't know that from this Mishnah. I do know that from the next Mishnah, because the next Mishnah is interesting. And let me read it real quickly because it's similar. All it does is add one additional detail. Ha'orlo males ha'kilayim, orlo with kilayim. The kilayim is ha'orlo, right? Here we had truma and orlo. Here we have orlo kilayim. Kilayim is ha'orlo. But orlo es ha'orlo. Orlo is ha'orlo.
That can still be two different.
Yeah. Ketzat, so it says se'or orlo shenaflo lemosayim, v'achar kach noflo se'or ve'oid orlo, or se'or ve'oid shel kilayim. See here it says ve'oid. Zui sha'orlo males ha'kilayim, v'kilayim is ha'orlo, ve'orlo is ha'orlo. Now, Rabbi Elyahu Kin Bartanora has a problem here. It can't be Orla against Orla. He says it must be Orla against Netarevai, which is very similar, which is also called a form of Orla.
Year.
Yeah, fourth year. He has a problem because of the way he learns Pshat here. But I don't want to make this too extensive, getting into the details of this. But he wants to learn that it's not necessarily Orla, it's Netarevai. Otherwise, he has a little bit of a problem because of the way he learned in the original case where you don't, just like in the case of Truma and Chuli, you don't have 100, you have 99. He learns here, you don't have 200, you have 199. So what's his problem, Bekisser? The problem is, and that's where everybody points at him, is wait a minute. If you have 199 or if you have 99, and then you have the same thing fall in later, it is mitzaref, because it was never bottle to begin with. Imagine Truma falling into Chulin, 1 in 99. It's not bottle. Then you need, then more Truma falls in.
That's going to be bottle. How?
It's the same thing. They're mitzaref. That's a real choizer veneer according to everybody.
There's not choizer veneer. It was never misbattle.
Exactly. It was never misbattle. Very good. If you hold like the when you're learning that it was never bittul to begin with. It was 99. So you see, like Ilan said, it's not. There's no choizer veneer. It was never misbattle to begin with. You have truma falling into chulin. There's only 99. It's not bottle. Then you have more truma falling later. What now? Would you say it's bottle? No. If anything, you would say it's mitzaref. It's worse than choizer veneer because it's not bottle, right? I give you the example of truma, but here the Mishnah says orla and orla. Orla fell in, then Orla fell in again. Orla Mala says, Orla? How could you say that if it was not, unless you say it was 200,
right?
Not 199 like he learns. If you say you had enough to be mevatel the first Orla or the first Truma, okay, then you have to figure out, do we say Choizer Veneer or not? There's a lot of poskim that hold, by the way, and it applies over here too, that Choizer Veneer may not apply here for another reason, because here he's talking about Niddah.
Uh-huh.
And whenever there is Niddah, there's no Choizer Veneer. Necessarily. Not everybody would agree with that. Okay? But a lot of poskim hold that that's what's going on over here, according to Rabbi Elyahu Kin. So even though he has a problem, he never admitted he had a problem. He's saying it can't be, but it appears to be that he's saying it for that reason too. It can't be, because how would you say it's not bottle? But if you say it's Niddah, then even according to that sheet, it would work out. If Niddah would help. If Niddah helps, everybody understands what I mean by Niddah? You knew of the first bittul. Once you knew of the first bittul, this is a brand new bittul. If you don't know,
but by him there was Niddah help.
No, there was a first bittul.
There was? No.
You have Orla or Truma, whatever, falling into 199. Then later on, there's another
Orla
incident,
Orla.
but it's a separate incident. Yeah,
Never misbattle. So
right. But it was Niddah. But it was Niddah.
No, but Niddah helps me to what we learned of the Halacha.
Right.
If Niddah helps me if there was enough to be mevatel, and then it went in a second time, I don't need twice the amount with the toichel, with the spoon.
Right, right.
If I'm toichel the spoon one time and it wasn't Niddah,
Right,
and I had
you're right.
and I had 60 against it,
Right.
but I'm toichel the second time,
Okay.
then suddenly I need 120. By the Basar B'Chalav case,
Yeah.
I have 60 against the spoon, but it wasn't Noida.
Okay, so what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, you're saying Noida does not help when there's no bittul.
Right.
Yes. Okay, that's the problem what they have here.
With the
In other words,
Batur.
I just introduced you the idea of Noida because in general, even without the Vadim Tanur, in general, that's what some would say, that even though you have a real bittul in a 100, maybe you still have Choyze Veneer.
Right.
We'll talk about Noida.
Then Noida would
In other
help.
words, if you want to claim Choyze Veneer, you don't have it because Noida would help. But you're right. Maybe yes, maybe not. In a case where you don't have enough, maybe. All right. Because the mice is what you said is even better. It's even better than Choyze Veneer. There was never bittul to begin with, and that's one of the questions they have in Ravadim Martorah. How could you say 99? Now, what's my problem with them? I have a big problem with this, and I was very, very uncomfortable, very struggling to figure this out. Okay, everybody says based on the Yerushalmi we're talking about 99 by Truma. Because if you have 100 against Truma, what's the Chiddush? I don't need the Truma then to be Mevatel de Orla, right? So everybody, almost everybody, except for the Ravid, remember that I told you just the Ravid? Ravid says everything is 100, everything is easy. Except for the Ravid, everybody seems to be saying based on that Yerushalmi, the way you read Meah with Truma is 99. Together with the Truma you have 100. So you have 100, and that's Mevatel de Orla. But when it comes to Orla falling in first, you actually need Matayim. You can't have 199. Otherwise, the Orla would be Aser. And I say it's not fair. I don't understand why you break up the Mishnah. Truma, it's okay to have 99. Well, you can't have it 100 because otherwise it doesn't make sense. And here you have 200. How could you say here it's 99 and here it's 200? I'll tell you why. What's the problem? And then I found out that there's a sefer called Kesef Nifchar. Beautiful sefer, on klalim, all kinds of klalim. Beautiful, very great job in explaining all kinds of klalim rules in Shas. All kinds of rules, the sugyas, the fortune. And I saw that he also had a tzorich iyun. Why do you use example here 99 and here you have to use 200? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Why break it up like that? Either if you do it like the Raavad, like Pri Chodesh says, the Raavad's gears is great. It makes life easy because the Mishnah Gimel is like Mishnah Beis. It all fits in very nicely. So everything, the Raavad's girsa makes a lot of sense. The only thing you have to worry about is Choyze Veneer or not. We said that's the Chiddush at least. But the problem here is like this. What are we saying? Listen carefully. We're saying Truma helps with Chulin to be Mevatel Orla. It helps, right? Chulin helps with Truma to be Mevatel Orla. Why can't we say the other way around too? If Truma, which was not bottle, everybody agrees with that Girsa of the Yerushalmi, there's only 99. The Truma was not bottle. It was not bottle. Nevertheless, somehow, together with Heter, strong enough to cancel out the Orla. Then why can't I just take the Orla now that fell in and be Mevatel the Truma? Why? What's so special about the Truma that it together with 99 Chulin, everybody's in agreement. It's Male, it's Mevatel the Orla. I don't even have 100. You see, if you learn like the Raavad, you have 100, everything is bottle, even though it's bottle and the Isser is there, it's not Choyze Veneer, it cancels out, throw at it whatever you want, you have 100. That everybody understands. If you have 100, you have the required shear. Everybody will agree with you that even though part of that shear is Isser, but it was bottle. Right?
I thought the Raavad said we had 100 in the header against Truma.
Right, so the Raavad is great. The Raavad
So we have
makes...
101 now.
Right.
When that one is the one.
Exactly. So the Raavad makes sense. And what's the Chiddush then? We say the Chiddush is it's not Choyze Veneer.
Right.
All right. But I can't understand the Rambam and the Rash. It's unfair. Why does the Truma have a koyach together with 99 to form a team? We're going to be mevatel any orla that comes in this place. Yet, when the orla does finally come in and it's gone, it doesn't have the koyach to mevatel the original Truma. Why not? Why not say Isurim mevatim zeh zeh? That's the whole sugi of Isurim mevatim zeh
So we had
zeh.
the famous what you quoted. Was it not the was it? Is it?
Yeah.
No.
Ravaz says we don't say, but he doesn't say why.
Exactly.
I
That's
found the
your question.
Ravaz, and the Ravaz says we don't say it both ways. But why not?
That's your question. Why?
That's
not?
my question. Why not? Especially the Rabbeinu Vadim in Bartanor says we do say it. Obviously, he says it for a reason, and that's what we're talking about tonight. What's the reasoning behind each one? Maybe it has to do with Isur Mevatin Zetze. Maybe they hold yes, they hold no. The Rosh brings down this as a third explanation for his halacha in Sif Tes. This is my third explanation.
Which one of them? Just
the Mishnah, this Mishnayos, these Mishnayos that they're miling each other. What's going on? What's the chiddush? They're miling each other. If you learn like Rabbeinu Vadim Bebartano, you have an exact example of his Seif Tes, where the Truma cancels out the Orla cancels out the Truma, everything works out fine. Why not say that? Right? Why not say that? Now, the reasoning behind what they have a problem, part of the problem that they have with Rabbeinu Vadim Bebartanora is that the second time around, when a piece falls in, and the first one is not bottle, then it's like falling in at the same time. And we said before, falling in at the same time, they're mitztaref. These two Isurim, Kilei HaKerem and Orla, are mitztaref. They are together, falling in together. When are they mevatel each other, or can be mevatel when they fall in separately? When they fall in together, they are mitztaref. So they claim that based on Rabbeinu Vadim Bartanora's way of learning, if one falls in and then one falls in later, one is not bottle, the first one was not bottle yet, then it's really like they're falling in at the same time. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's not bottle yet, so it's like they're falling in at the same time. If they're falling in at the same time, then they're not canceled, they're not bevatel, they're mitztaref. We said before in the Mishnah before, these two are mitztaref when they are alone by themselves. Right?
Because they're different with the Truma?
Orla and Kilei HaKerem. Yeah. They are mitztaref at some point when they are by themselves.
Well, certainly Orla and Orla are.
Yeah.
And then we spoke of Orla and Orla.
The problem is, I'll give you a clue because I don't want to I can go on for another couple hours. What happens here really is isn't there a distinction, or possibly a distinction between Tziruf Isurim for Achila, or Tziruf Isurim for... Maybe there is. We saw it by Pigul and Noisar. The Mishnah in Melicha says that they do not combine for Tuma purposes, because they're different shemas. They do combine for Achila. If you eat them, there's a lav. Why? Forget Rav Meir for a moment. We learn by Pigul, Noisar, and Talmud, we learn it out from a pasuk. It's Exeros HaKosov, by Kodesh, that you can't eat those things. So there's a special pasuk. Otherwise, I wouldn't think that they're mitztaref, because we learned that most Isurim are not mitztaref. Nevelas, all nevelas are. But you take a nevela and you take a tomeh, they're not mitztaref. Isurim are not mitztarfin for the most part. They're different. Right? We understand that. Isurim do not combine if they're very different. You have a nevela of this, nevela, it's all one nevela. But otherwise, Yisur are not mitzvah. So why are Pigul, Noisar, and Tomer mitzvah? Special Gzeres HaKosov. What about Kilei HaKerem, the Mishnah Meila, Kilei HaKerem, and Orla? Wow. So you have to, maybe it's Rav Meir. Rav Meir says, it's a To'eva. It's a special lab. If that Mishnah is going to Rav Meir, then I understand why those two, who are different shemas, are mitzvah. Otherwise, they shouldn't be mitzvah. So what do I see so far? That there's a certain tziruf for Achila, because either hukshu, they are compared to something else, or because there's Exeres HaKosov. But does that mean that they cannot cancel each other out? Well, supposedly they shouldn't be able, because we said a klal, a common sense klal. Anything that is mitzdarf cannot cancel each other out. But is that always true? Maybe sometimes yes. Maybe there's just an isser to eat it if it's be'ein. Like the Tosfos said, the difference between zvachim and ne'ilah is that here one place you have it be'ein, and when you eat a piece of this and a piece of that, then obviously you're going to be over. But what if they're all mixed together? If you hold isurim mevatlin zeh et zeh, and it's all the bitul, the same isurim that are mitztaref, there's a bitul. So the concept of isurim mevatlin zeh et zeh is very, very important, because if you do hold that, then regardless of tzirufim, sometimes you may be able to apply it in certain situations. But getting back to our Mishnah, you see how based on the way Rabbi Elyahu Kin learns, it falls in line more to our example in Hilchos Taaruvos, based on what concept So far, the only concept that comes to mind is the Isurim Mevatim Zeh et Zeh. They can. That's why he says the Truma, even though it's not bottle, it has the koyach together with the chulun to mevatel. The order when it comes in can be mevatel it. Even though they're mitzaref before, that sirif does not necessarily have anything to do. Why not? Oh, this is where you come in. Where do I make this kind of a distinction that things that are mitzaref all of a sudden can be mevatel? I mean,
in other words, if I understand it, if the what we're talking about, clay kalayim and olah,
right?
If the clay kalayim and olah together fell into the heter,
right?
Then the clay kalayim and the olah would be mitzvah. But if they're falling in subsequently, then they're not being mitzvah. Is that what you're saying? If the clay kalayim and the olah,
right, they're not being ever mitzvah. They're being mevatel each other according
even
to the
if
Mishnah.
they fell in together.
No, not if they fell in together. That's the first part of the Mishnah.
That's exactly the distinction. If they fell in together, they would be mitzvah.
Right.
But since they're falling in at different times, they're being mevatel each other.
And everybody agrees with that.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, everybody agrees that if they fall in separately, that's what the Mishnah is talking about.
Even though there was no bittul.
Yes, but not everybody agrees that they cancel each other out at the same time, like Rabbeinu Vayud Matanor learns.
That they mutually cancel each other.
Right. That's his sheet of learning the Mishnah. But anyway, before I give you the real McCoy, let me just say let me give you the dessert before. One thing that is here very, very clear, the Ramban brings it, and others bring it too, is that we're talking about Shi'urim B'Rabbanan here. So therefore, the Kesef Nifcha brings down, remember Rabbi Eliezer from the Gemara in Zvachim, who doesn't agree, Sur Mevatim says, what is he going to say about this Mishnah? He says, oh, by the way, Rabbi Eliezer, what will he say about this? This is a Mishnah. He's probably going to say that since these Isurim are bottle anyway in a Torah, this mixture, the whole thing is Midirabanan anyway. This entire Mishnah is therefore in an halacha of a Dirabanan. That's all. But very interesting point. Because what the Kesef Nifcher is saying here in explaining Rabbi Eliezer, who doesn't hold Isur Mevatim Zed, he doesn't hold it. That in this case, you could say it. Why? Because we're talking about Shi'urim of Derabanan above 60. Above 60, because we're talking about the Shi'urim over 60, 100, 200, in this case the halachas are different. In this case you could say Isur Misarfim Zed, Mevatim Zed. You could say other things too, which leads me to the next case. There is a famous sugya that we'll be learning a little bit maybe in Tzaddik Test called Kama Kama Bottle. Kuf Kuf Beis, abbreviate Kuf Kuf Beis. You have wine, Yain Nesach, falling into mutter wine. A whole day. Yain Nesach is also b'mashu. But if you learn Hilchos Yain Nesach, you will see that there's a difference between the Isser falling into Heter or Heter falling into Isser, depending who's in the bottom, like the Tog over. Similar idea. So when the wine of the Isser is falling down into the Heter, little by little, if it's dripping, not in large quantities, that's a big difference, it could be Kama Kama bottle. The whole thing will disappear. Incredible! There's a machlokes where we learn Kama Kama bottle from. But what's the point of this concept of Kama Kama bottle? There's a consensus amongst most Rishonim that the idea of Kama Kama bottle, which is a true concept, that it works sometimes, that little by little, the Isser that is falling in is being misbatel and misbatel and misbatel and misbatel, has a limit. What's the limit?
Yeah.
Either Roiv or Tam, depending if you're talking about Yavish or Lach. Don't think for a moment that just a little bit of milk falling in its bottle, it's gone. More broad, it's gone, it's bottle. Eventually, when you have enough milk, what do you think is going to happen?
51%.
The Isser that was bottle according to the Rosh that became Heter will become Isser again. Why? It's gone. It's gone, but now it's identifiable. It has come back to life. So Kama Kama bottle has its limitations according to most boys. Most boys can hold that even though it's a true concept, that little by little it gets gone, it disappears. At some point the Isser can be restored. No, the taste won't be the same. Obviously the Isser is going to come back. Yain Nesach, what's interesting is it's different. Some say that Kama Kama bottle only applies by Yain. That's where it's talked. That's where it's mostly discussed, is in Yain Nesach. It's an interesting area. And even then, it's min b'mino over there. It's wine and wine. It's not the different kinds. And it's also a special Isser of Isser b'mashu. So it's a different halacha. But Kama Kama bottle, they say, maybe this is the case here too. So what is happening in our Mishnayos? In our Mishnayos also, the shi'urim are not the typical shi'urim. We're talking about shi'urim over 60, but once more se'o of truma fell in, more se'o of kila kerem and ola fell in, at some point, you're not going to say that they cancel each other out. At some point, everybody, most poskim agree, at some point, it's not going to be bottle. You follow me?
Yeah.
So even, you don't have to go to Choyzer Veneer. You just go to the kama bottle will not apply at some point. At some point, the Isser that was there, originally a heter, became a heter, eventually comes back to life and becomes Isser again. It's identifiable.
When you say comes back to life?
In a way, but this is the original Isser even that was bottled, not new. Right? The original, well, yeah, I guess so. Right? The original, okay, just a couple more minutes and we'll be finished. Okay, let me perhaps just wrap it up over here. Just to finish up, I saw in the Beis Yosef brings down that based on this last Hezber, that the Rosh is using this Mishnayos to back up his heter, his resolution of this of the Halacha, that Isurim Mevatlin Zeh, or learning out from the Mishnayos, even though it's not Isurim Mevatlin Zeh, but it's for another reason of Kama bottle, right? So he brings down, the Beis Yosef brings down the Rashba, who says in the name of the Ravid, that the din of the Mishnah in Orla, Truma, Orla, all that we just learned, can be extended or applied to other Isurim in the Torah as well. Yes. But not all the poskim are in agreement. And the distinction is, of course, about Kama bottle. Where is it Shaykh or not? And some say that it's only Shaykh in Isurim above 100, above 60. But should you have an example of you have chelev and dam and all these things, and you would not necessarily be able to apply the exact same rules that we had in the Mishnah as according to Rabbi Elyahu Kin, where you had only 99. If they're similar. In other words, not necessarily. In other words, the main point is that you could apply it, but up until a limit of once it starts giving tam. Because then it's choyzer v'nir. And even what Chiddush is over there is even min b'minoy. Even min b'mino that there's no tam, but whenever it would have otherwise given a tam, had it been min b'she'ino mino, it would also be choyzer v'nir. That's the chiddush over there. So what do we see from this? The whole sugi of kama bottle, there was a little by little, and we see it from Mikvaot, in Mishnayos and Mikvaot about Jews falling into a mikveh. Yeah, Jews falling into a mikveh. Will it make it possible? Well, if you have 40 saw, about 200 gallons of mayim, of regular water, the orange juice will not make a difference. But what if, so it's bottle. What if you have more and more falling in? Eventually it becomes more orange juice than water. So that's not, even though you may hold kama bottle, and over there it's not a problem of tam, because you dip yourself, but it's not royu letvila. It has to be royu letvila. Orange juice is not royu letvila. But in the case of mayim she'uvim, you can open up your faucet. Once you have your 40 se'ah, you can open up a faucet. They do that here, right? Anyway, right? You fill it up. Even though you'll have much more than the original, as long as you started with 40 se'ah. There the Mishnah talks about what if you put in the saw, you take out another saw.
Yeah, what's it called again? For it.
Yeah. You start replacing all the water.
Exactly.
Yeah. That already becomes a question.
49.
Yeah. The only thing is that even though it's not necessarily a question, because as you're taking out some of the mutter water, you're taking out some of the aser water. Right. But with the oranges, it would be much more of a problem. More and more orange juice. Eventually, what do you expect? So even though you may have bitul, at some point there's a limit to every bitul. Most poskim do not hold that bitul is indefinite. There is a form of choyzer v'nir, or a restoration of the original Isser at some point. So to wrap it all up here, in the case of the Mechaber, which quotes the Rosh, we had the three explanations, whether it's Isurim Mevatnim Zeh or the Svara, or the source of this halacha is taken from this Mishnayos. Just that in this Mishnayos, it's not necessarily the best raya, because over there, what is happening is really perhaps in Shiurim of the Rabbanan, like the poskim were saying above. But even if it's B'Shiurim B'Derabanan, it is possible that the way Rabbi Ovadia Martinello learns is fully acceptable, even though they have a problem with it. Once we're talking about shiurim and the Rabbanan, perhaps it could be mitzaref on the one hand by themselves, and here they cancel each other out because all it is the shiurim the Rabbanan. So I think the real koyach, or the real one of the strongest explanations is the first two, the svara, but also the Yisur Mevatlin Zeh et Zeh. Because if you hold Yisur Mevatlin Zeh et Zeh, which possibly you can, at some point there's a lot of rayas that they do cancel each other out, even though maybe not you cannot eat it all together, if they're all usr, but somehow to produce a situation where you have enough heter, maybe you can say it. In other words, you have enough rayas from all the sugyas of kama bottle, Yisur Mevatlin Zeh et Zeh, and here the case of the svara, when they're so different in the time as well, that of course a situation like this would. Okay, so I think that we pretty much covered the sugya as best as possible.